Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are, whenever you're watching this. This is Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be all of my Lethal Cosmetics single eyeshadows and swatching them all out for you one by one. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This is my Lethal Cosmetics single eyeshadow collection, and I'm going to be swatching each one of them out for you. I have done lots of other content with Lethal Cosmetics in the past, so I'll make sure to link it in the description box down below. And for now, let's just get started. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I like to come in here to chat about eyeshadow palettes, essence and Catrice reviews, and getting the use out of my makeup. Because I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, I deem myself a snow angel. If you would like to join the Snow Angel Club, then just click subscribe down below. So yes, Lethal Cosmetics is a German-based indie brand, and they do some lovely things. They have a tool on their website where you can build your own palette, and they also do some ready-made palettes. I've never tried any of the ready-made ones. Their color stories don't always appeal to me, but as far as I know, they tend to put their shades from palettes, unless it's like a limited edition, and they release it as part of their singles collection, so you can use them to build your own palettes for sure. I currently have another one on the wish list, and I had hoped that I would have that in before filming this video, but sadly a lot of the things I wanted to get were out of stock, so I wasn't able to buy it yet, but I will sometime in the next couple of months. In case you are unfamiliar with the brand, they have a website where you can build things yourself, but they also sell their products through Douglas here in Europe. So they are a German retailer with stores in the Netherlands. And if you are Dutch or if you are in the Netherlands, then it's perhaps good to know that you can also buy it through the Douglas website. So they are a little bit more widely available now than they used to be, because before it was only their official website. But that's where I bought all of these bits. So I have one of the black palettes, and then the other two are white. And the shades in here have gone through different renditions. These are no longer the original 3 palettes that I built, because what I tend to do is that I then use the palette first to try out the shades, and then when I feel I've tried it out, I mix and match it. So now I've built myself like a blue-green palette, a pink-purple palette, and this is like blues and teals with a very random warm tone shade, but that I do really like. So these are my Lethal singles, so let's just hop in. I'm going to go through this palette by palette. So I've zoomed you in a little bit so that we can really have a close-up look to this palette. So this is what my blue-green palette looks like. So let me take them out one by one and show you close-ups. So this is the first shade in the palette. This is Celestial, and this looks like a white in the pan, but as you'll see, it has a bit of a green flip. So that is what the shade Celestial looks like. It's not as strong of a green flip as some of my other like whites that pull green are, like my Sydney Grease's Green Mist is much stronger. This is very pretty as an inner corner highlight. So a shade that can be difficult to find is a good lime green, and this is Vertex, and it's a really great lime green shimmer. This is the shade Cryptic, and this is just a really nice green shimmer as well. And here we have Replica, which is a really nice matte green. It's like a good mid-tone green without it being too bright. This is Relapse, which is like a lemony yellow, and it's a matte, which is quite rare to find. And this sort of murky greenish yellow is Recluse. Recluse? I don't know. A lot of their shade names start with RE, so I never know which one is which because of it. See how that's not quite a yellow, not quite a green? This is another really good green shade. This is Habitat. It's cocky, but not. So do you just see that for like a cocky green? It's far too green toned. It's not that brown, and it's not very warm. I would categorize this as a cool toned cocky green, which again is quite rare to find. And finally, a cool toned grayish green that leans towards the forest side of things, but isn't quite. This is Eden. So here we have that. So as you can see, it is deep, but it's not super deep, and it's foresty green, but it has that yellow also running through it, but it also has quite a bit of gray. So for me, this is again quite a unique shade as far as green tones go. And this is something that I've noticed a lot with my lethal shadows, is that they look pretty intense in the pan, but they always sheer out beautifully, making them very wearable. So here we have a tealy green. This is Aether, and this is one of my favorite shades by them. This is a really good teal shimmer. Okay, so my camera battery cut out, so if the angle has shifted or if you missed half of this swatch, but this is still Aether. This has a bit of a more intense green shimmer running through it, so it's almost like a duochrome. And this is quite a bright tealy green. This is Mirage. Very, very stunning, very intense, high shine metallic, but their shimmers, at least from the ones I have, there's not a whole lot of texture going on. So if you like metallic shades, but not with too much sparkle or anything too much of a faff, I mean, these apply like a satin, but they have the shine of a metallic. And then a shade I don't think I have seen any other brand ever do as a matte. This is Yonder, and it's Mirage, but as a matte. So this is such a fun, blue, brighter shade, but without it being like a sky blue or a baby blue. It definitely, you can see that green just coming through. And I don't think I've ever seen a brand do anything like this. And then the darkest teal shade I've got in this palette, and also the deepest shade, apart from Eden, in this blue-green palette, or do I say that correctly? Yeah. Well, it's not very blue, but this is Equilibrium, and this is like the tail end of the teal spectrum I've got going on. So you can see that this is starting to veer more towards blue than green. And this is definitely a shade that's, again, very pretty, but it perhaps goes better with the other palette I have, but I had to put it somewhere. So that's why it ended up in this palette. But yeah, this is a really pretty shade as well. And then we have my pinky purple palette. It's mainly pinks. I've got a couple of warm tones in here. That burgundy is really stunning, and a very vibrant neon-y pink. But they do really, really good purples. I have to say, if the brand does anything really well, it's greens and purples. That's why I have so many of them. So let me show you these. The first shade in the pinky purple palette is Enigma, and this is one of those pinks that has like a purpley cast to them. I had a shade like this from ABH called Electro, but I preferred this, which is why I decluttered the ABH shade, and I kept this one. So it looks like a straight up pink in the pan. Actually it has a bit of that like bluish purple flash that I like so much in my purples. I love a good blurple, we all know that, but this is that, but then in a pink. And this is Caps Lock, which is their bright neon pink, which I believe came out in the Synth collection, if I'm not mistaken. Like, they did a palette that you could buy as a palette, but then the singles were also released, so this is one of those. And there we have that. For a neon pink, that's some really good quality. Neons can be hard to do. And I'm pretty sure that this purple shimmer came from the same collection as the bright pink. This is the shade Synth. And you can tell that this is from a later collection, because when they started, they just did mattes and shimmers, and all shimmers had a same level of texture to them. And here we definitely, I'm not sure if it translates well on camera, but with this, you definitely get a bit of a chunkier texture. It still smooths out really nicely, but I feel that this is just a bit more high shine metallic. And as you can see, it's that lavender purple, and then it has a deeper base, but it also has the blue. Here we're getting into a bit more dimensional stuff. And who can say no to a pastely lavender purple? This is the shade Sequence. I believe it's also from that same collection. So yeah, I think if you were to ever want to like build yourself a pastel custom palette, then maybe look into Lethal Cosmetics, because they do some really good light but vibrant, colorful shades. That's what I was gonna say. It's almost like more periwinkle now that I've swatched it. This is the shade Descent. This is a really lovely purpley shimmer. It's really not that special. I feel that actually this shade Synth is what I wanted this to be, but I still think it's a good standard to have for purples. I mean, come on. It's so pretty. That shine. I love it. And this is a really nice mauve shade. This is Release. Look at that. So stunning, so smooth, so lovely. This right here is Rebirth, and it's a really, really stunning, like maroony cranberry shade. Again, pretty unique as far as things go, I feel. So do you just see, it's got a warm base, but then it has that like coolish, more purpley sort of vibe to it. So it's cranberry, but not quite. It's not quite plum. It's not quite maroon. It's a really stunning shade though. And next up is the shade Unity, and this is a very nice like burgundy plum. I mean, look at that. It's not too red, it's not too purple. It's that perfect in-between wine red shade. We all know I don't love warm tones, but berries, and especially these kind of berries, I love. Were you looking for a good vibrant purple shimmer? Then definitely check out the shade Spirit, because Spirit, oh boy, this is intense. I mean, as far as vibrant purples go, that are right smack in the middle purple, like a good purple, not too blue, not too red, it's like a really good neutral purple. Spirit is definitely it. And I remember being really happy when I saw this shade, Night Call. It's like the best cool tone purple matte I have in my entire collection. I think maybe this needs to pop up in a single palette for sure. I mean, it's soft, it's got intensity, but it's got brightness as well. This is just such a good purple matte. And this is a bit of an odd one out because this is quite warm compared to everything else we've seen so far. This is Trespass, and this is definitely more like a maroon red. See that? It's red, but it's got brown as well. It's a really good neutral shade, actually. And if you want that super deep purpley shimmer, then Revolve is your shade. And this is again one of those later shades that is just a little bit more dimensional than the shades they came out with first. So I do definitely think that with Lethal, you're going to get more of an intense metallic if you buy shades that were released in later collections, I feel. And then we have the final palette left, and here you can see we've got more greeny teals, but they're all more blue heavy, I feel, and some more like standard greens. And then we got some blues, and my only true cool tone neutral, which is this gray shade called Rise from the Ashes. They don't do a lot of cool tone neutrals, I have to say. Most of their neutrals are quite warm, so that's why I went with the colorful stuff for this brand. Another favorite, this is Venom. So you can just see that it doesn't have the same level of green that Mirage has. This is definitely more like a bluish turquoise shade rather than a teal. More favorites. Lucid is a really stunning tealy blue. So this is still a teal, but it's more blue heavy than it is green heavy. The only warm tone neutral I kind of have by Lethal, Imago is a good one. It's a nice reddish tone brown. And this doesn't swatch the best, but it is really pretty if you use it on the eyes. Rise to the Ashes, or Rise from the Ashes? Rise from the Ashes is a very nice charcoal gray shimmer that I actually bought for my cool tone palette, but because it's square, it doesn't really go in there. So I decided to pop it in here instead. So it's a charcoal gray, but you can see that it has that really lovely blue undertone that I love so much, which is also why I think it goes with the blues I've got going on in this palette anyway. So it has a very strong bluish quality to it. They also do some deeper tealy shades. This is Petrichor, and this is stunning. Again, a little bit thinner of a formula, so that's why it doesn't go on super pigmented perhaps, but on the eyes with a brush, amazing. Very nice, vibrant sky blue then, Altitude. Remember what I said about Lethal being good at doing pastely bright shades? This is definitely another good one. We're getting a little bit more blue as we're going down the palette. This is Ariel. And this is such a pretty blue tone shimmer. It's, again, that vibrancy. It does have a bit of green running through it, so it's technically a teal, but I feel you don't really see much of that green once it is applied to the eyes. And then we have Inertia, and this is the most like green toned shade in this entire palette, so maybe this should go into the other one, but I feel the depth this has and the sort of undertone goes better in this one. Do you just see that? You know, yes, it's green, but when you swatch it out, it doesn't look that green anymore. It has quite a lot of blue running through it. Another teal. But the brand does some really straight up blues as well. This is Insomnia. It's such a good dark blue matte. And I hope you can see why, because it's a blue, but it's got a lot of gray running through it. So it's almost like the opposite of Rise from the Ashes, where it's gray with a blue undertone. This is blue with a gray undertone. How can we say no to a nice, vibrant, almost electric blue? This is Surge. So it's not quite an electric blue, because electric blues usually have more depth to the shade. This is definitely more like a bright blue, like a sky blue almost, but without it like being too pastel either. So it's a good bright. And we need a navy, of course. A navy matte, anyone? Deceit. So again, its swatch is perhaps not as the most pigmented shade on the planet, but you can see that depth. And when you build this up, it's a really great intensifying shade. And we're finishing things off on a high note, because Stargaze is another one of my favorite shades from the brand. And that's what Stargaze looks like. It's like navy blue, but with like periwinkle blue and purple sparkle running through it. It's very dimensional. It's very pretty. It has that deeper base, so got enough here also for a smoky eye. So there you have it. Those were all of my Lethal shades. I hope that swatching out all of these shades was helpful for you. Maybe you were looking into the brand, trying to buy something from them. Just know that some of the mattes aren't super duper intense right off the bat, but you can build them up, and they are really lovely, and they are now doing more interesting things as well in terms of shimmers, which is why I want to try some more. I definitely want to try some of their multichromes, because that has me very intrigued. I have a few of their liquid multichromes, and those I love. So that's why I want to make sure I can get everything I want in one go, just to make it worth it with all the shipping fees. Yes, it's in Germany, so I don't have to pay for customs, but I think they used to do free shipping when you bought one of these palettes, and I believe they no longer do that. So it's gotten a bit more expensive to buy from them, and also those multichromes have a different price point compared to everything else here. I believe the palettes are like a single pan is €5, and then the palette is another price point, but when you fill the entire palette up, you get a bit of a discount, so it's cheaper than just buying 12 shades by itself without the palette. So I definitely would recommend going through their palette designer. If you have a spare moment, it's a rainy evening and you've got nothing to do, it's a very cute tool to play around with. Very intuitive, very easy to see everything, and they've got some pretty good shade descriptions on the website as well. I wish they would include swatches, but that's maybe for another day. But yeah, that's my Lethal swatch party. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I'm doing regular content with my single shadows just because I want to get more use out of them. And these videos really help me to hone in on what I have, and it's giving me tons of ideas for building custom singles palettes every month for sure. So I hope you'd like to stay tuned for more. Take care, everybody. Have a good day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye!